It's Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Swipa. Coming up, the latest turn in the Jimmy Butler saga could mean he's traded soon. Which team will Butler play for next?
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Swipa. The Sunday night crew here for a Friday night. However you might be tuning in. YouTube, your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Great show for you on this Friday night, Saturday morning, if you're listening to it then. The Thunder won the battle of the winning streaks, and we got to talk, and we get to talk about Nikola Jokic versus Victor Wembanyama. But we have to start, Swipa, with Jimmy Butler. A day after requesting a trade, the Heat announced on Friday that they are suspending Jimmy Butler for conduct detrimental to the team and that they are listening to trade offers for him. Just another twist in this saga, but Jimmy Butler got his way. He wanted a trade this season before the deadline. He got one last jab in with the 7-game suspension, but they've announced that they are at least listening to offers just 8 days after Pat Riley in that statement declared that they would not be trading Jimmy Butler this season. My only question is whether you think that there's a team out there that would trade for Jimmy before the deadline.
I'm honestly a little bit at a loss for words with this. This has gotten so bad, and you know how this works, Wes. If everybody finds out a player is on the move and it's the player requests a trade, everybody's going to lowball you, number one.
Yep.
But then number two is also like, okay, who wants to pay Jimmy a max at 35 years old, and you're leaving a situation not on the best note? So, you know what I mean? Now you're kind of a little radioactive at this point. It's like, well, is Jimmy going to come here and try to blow it up? Like, is he not going to be happy playing basketball? Like, you got the Minnesota exit. That was already something. Now you got the Miami Heat exit. That was already something. And it's like, you know, why would I do this? Now, on the other hand, there is one team that seems desperate enough because they have a 36-year-old, 37-year-old, aging former MVP/superstar, and they have a bunch of young players on their roster that make no sense for what they're doing, and that's Golden State. That's the one I'm looking at and saying, okay, Wiggins, Kuminga, I don't know if y'all get Kuminga in that deal. I got Pods, Moses Moody, Jace Jackson Davis,
Trace Jackson Davis. Yeah.
Trace Jackson Davis. Like, maybe the Golden State Warriors.
Let's stay there for a second, because you mentioned sort of Kuminga. Maybe he's in the deal or not. To your point, right? Maybe Kuminga is in this deal 2 weeks ago when it was first reported that the Heat were open to listening to trade offers, right? I think the Warriors and the Heat had some conversations. Nobody knows the extent necessarily of those conversations, or at least that's not been out there and reported. But I don't know whether or not Kuminga was part of that deal or not. The Heat, they don't have the same leverage that they had 3 weeks ago. If you're the Warriors, you'd be like, hey, you just said you're trading this guy. Here's
Right.
Wiggins. Gary Payton II's expiring salary, a couple other things. Take it or leave it. You want to get off this guy this bad that you're suspending him for 7 games? This is your offer, you know? And you know, maybe Miami can drum up some sort of trade market still, and maybe Golden State just wants to get off of Kuminga and not deal with his next salary anyway, although I'd have a hard time believing that that's the case. But yeah, to your point, like, whatever offer was out there 2 and 3 weeks ago is not going to be the same sort of offers you're going to get now. Certainly not the offers that you could have gotten over the summer when I was vouching on Locked On Heat that you need to explore trading him. And there's already reports that the Warriors reached out in the summer and that the Knicks had reached out in the summer before they traded for Mikal Bridges. Could you imagine what the Heat could have gotten if they got the Mikal Bridges package, like the 4 first-round picks and all that stuff? Like, they're not going to get anything close to that now for Jimmy. And so I think Golden State could make some sense. Phoenix is obviously desperate to get off of Bradley Beal and maybe swap him for Jimmy Butler. The Heat are not going to take Bradley Beal's contract on. They're not
And a
doing
15
that.
and a 15% trade kicker in that deal too.
And he's making more. Bradley Beal is making more money for longer for a longer term period, and he's worse than Jimmy Butler. There's no reason.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Now, can you find a third team to take Bradley Beal, and then that team send some stuff over from Miami potentially? And that is, if I'm the Heat now, if you're this motivated to end the Jimmy Butler era, you've got to go from listening to trade offers to actively engaged in the trade market.
It just sucks though, Wes, because he got there in 1920. He went to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
2021, he has an injury. Nobody that made the conference finals that year in the 2020 bubble did anything past the second round. Everybody was flamed out. They were all hurt. So then you have that year. You take a year off. This is what y'all do. You take a year off, then you bounce back. And then you have the 22 run, where if Jimmy Butler if he didn't have a torn hamstring or whatever that was, like in that run, maybe you go to the finals in 22. If he hits that 3 versus the Celtics, hits the game winner, maybe you go to the finals again. And then the next year you go to the NBA finals, you beat the number 1 seed, smoke him 4-1, go to the NBA finals. And then the next year, everything happens. Jimmy's hurt, and then you fall apart, and then you lose in the first round. Like y'all have had so much success with Jimmy, and to think that it would get to this point. And again, if Pat Riley knew, this is my thing, which if Pat Riley already knew we were not gonna pay Jimmy, why hold on to him? Why do this? Why even put the team in this situation? And Pat Riley, I think he's been a great president, general manager for the most part. But this is the kind of stuff that you can't deal with. Like, you have to either take care of your guy or trade them when their value is at the highest. Mm-hmm. Because putting your team in this situation, this is what looks bad, Wes. Not only was he asking for the money, there were already rumors about Jimmy before all this. Mm-hmm. Then Pat Riley comes out after Jimmy, the stuff is floating around that he wants a trade and this, that. Pat Riley comes out with an official note on the Miami Heat right on Twitter. Pat Riley said, we're not trading Jimmy Butler. And then a week and a half later, Jimmy says, I'm happy in Miami, but I'm not happy playing basketball here. I'll play anywhere else. And then you suspend him. This all could have been avoided.
And it should have been. And I'm 100% with you. The Heat were not going to be contenders this year. And if Pat Riley has a flaw, it's probably hanging on to things a little bit too long. And the idea... they believed that they could compete this year. They really did. And it's insane to think that, but that whatever that is, that stubbornness, that self-belief that this program has, that got them to the 2023 finals. Like it also has resulted in stuff, but I can't help but look at that and be like, that was the exception, not the rule. And this Heat team keeps trying to make exception the rule. And sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and say, it was a good run, but it just ain't it anymore. And look, my biggest thing was you should have at least had those conversations in the summer about Jimmy Butler. You didn't have to trade him, but at least entertain it. Mm-hmm. Do your due diligence because not even to field those phone calls, to shut all those trade talks down when it was obvious where this thing was going. To your point, Swipa, when you already determined we're not going to pay this guy right now. We're going to try to do it next summer. When you've already made that determination, it's almost malpractice not to at least field the phone calls.
Yeah.
And that part is that part could have gotten any other front office potentially fired. And it won't, and I'm not saying that this one should be fired. I'm just saying it was that weird that it happened this way. And now they're dealing with it. And there's a sunk cost part of this where you're not going to get like value for Jimmy Butler. It's just not going to happen. I don't know what team is out there. For me, Houston doesn't make a lot of sense. The Golden State, because of where these teams are against the apron, there's like a lot of moving parts. Ditto with Phoenix. It's hard to build a trade and do all of this like in the middle of this basketball season. And so I'm still not sure he gets traded. It's really hard for it to happen. And so you've got this thing lingering where it didn't feel like it had to linger.
But Wes, so what's the other option then though? So he back-to-back games, minimal try, like minimal effort. The team is clearly feeling that. They're affected by this. They in their locker room with this every day. They hear this stuff. And then you get suspended after requesting a trade for 7 games. You take my money, and then you want me to come back and compete?
It could look like the Ben Simmons situation from a couple of years ago. And ironically enough, Ben Simmons' agent, Bernie Lee, also represents Jimmy Butler. He's well-versed in all of this. So it could be or, they could go to the NBA front office or the NBA office and say, hey, you have this clause in the player participation program that would allow us and Jimmy Butler to mutually. They could buy him out. I don't know.
I guess on what grounds for suspension were there in terms of conduct detrimental to the team if you're requesting a trade or saying you're not happy playing somewhere?
That's it.
I really honestly feel like the NBA PA. If
they're
I
already
was
investigating it.
I'm like, wait a minute.
This is not over.
You're suspending him for saying he's not happy playing here,
and this is the longest suspension since Kyrie was suspended for I think 8 games a couple years ago. Like 7 games is a long
for something that was completely out of bounds in a completely different scenario, and then even on court,
Nurkic punched a guy and got 4 games.
Who?
Nurkic punched a guy and got 4 games.
Right, like that doesn't make any sense. So you're suspending somebody for 7 games, Pat Riley, because you feel like it. But this is what I'm saying. This is why I think he's off his rocker with this. It's like you don't get to set all of the rules and live by your own definition of what you think is good for the team, bad for the team, good for a player, bad for a player. You put your team in a situation, but you can't fix it by suspending Jimmy Butler when he hasn't actually done anything that's illegal or somehow
out of the norm for the NBA in 2024.
Right.
Like there's players requesting trades every other month. So we talked a lot about the team that I cover. We're going to shift gears in the next segment. We're going to talk about the team that you cover, Swipa. Some controversy there, but at least it was on the court controversy. What did they do wrong at the end of the Spurs game? We're going to talk about that, plus an instant classic, Knicks-Thunder, possibly the best game of the regular season so far. All of that coming up here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown. Anytime touchdown's always a great option. How many points each team will score, over-unders. It's thrilling to get in on the action. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, 30 minutes. Best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Got a big slate of Friday night hoops to get to. Let's jump in with the most exciting game from the night. Knicks-Thunder. Thunder beat the Knicks 117-107. Oklahoma City trailed at 12 by halftime, but Aaron Wiggins comes up big in the fourth quarter. That's right, Aaron Wiggins, 4 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. You did a Klay Thompson impression. The Thunder outscored the Knicks 37-19 in that final period. They come out. They came into the game, with 13 straight wins. The Knicks had 9 in a row coming into this game.
And they
Thunder
folded.
Obviously win the battle of the win streaks here. They come out with they've won 14 now in a row. This, to me, this is the team to beat, not just in the Western Conference, but they have been the best team this regular season. They have been dominant. You can throw net ratings at me. You could throw top lineups. You could throw box plus minuses. You could throw MVP odds. You could throw how about just the fact that they've won 14 games in a row, and they are just taking care of business. Again, to me, this is the title. I don't know how you could pick against them. I'm not saying that I'm not here predicting that they're going to win the title, all this stuff, but like if there's a team to beat, it's OKC.
Respectfully, no. It's not that. It's not that I don't think they're elite, but no, Boston still Boston. I think until proven otherwise, it has to be Boston. And I think out of respect for them, like they might not be like as galactic as they were last year, but they're still been like, they just took care of the Wolves. They're dominating. But OKC was incredible, man. New York should have won that game. Like, I really don't know what other to say than that. Like, they folded. They were up 6 in the clutch and folded. I'm talking about like Cat was just standing there like he wanted nothing to do with the ball.
Can we talk about Cat?
He's been great this year, but he was nowhere
so
to be
good.
seen.
He was so good in the first half, like dominant. Like he was the best player on the floor in the first half. He was better than Shea. He was better than Brunson. And then a no-show in the fourth quarter. It's like every time you want to root for this guy,
to get the ball.
He 2 field goal attempts for 2 points. He was a -18, just a couple of rebounds in that fourth quarter. That's the frustrating. I mean, everybody in the Knicks was a minus, but yeah, he was a minus. He was him, OG, and Josh Hart were tied for team worst -18 in that fourth quarter. But yeah, he's the guy, right? He was the guy that, I mean, he was the guy in the first half, and he's had such a good regular season for them. And I even tweeted, I was like, this is Karl-Anthony Towns' best offensive year of his career. And then that no-show in the fourth quarter.
But did you see Brunson was getting hounded at the level? Hounded at the level. Cat, go get the ball. Like, why are you standing at the baseline and you see Jalen Brunson fighting for his life? They're literally hedging and catching. They're not leaving. They were hedging, catching, and saying, you're not beating us. And they were putting so much pressure on Jalen Brunson, he could barely throw the ball out. But that's because everybody not named Josh Hart was nowhere to be seen. Like, I'm watching down the stretch of this game, and I'm like, Cat, go get the rock. At least set the offense up again. Nowhere to be seen. And look, man, OKC, the thing that makes them great, SGA was good this game. This wasn't even a great SGA game. He made some huge buckets down the stretch, a three-pointer, and one of the best, prettiest left-handed finger rolls you're going to see.
You're talking about that scoop?
Their defense is so stifling. Yo, Isaiah Hartenstein, y'all, had 4 points, but he was dominating on the offense, dominating on the defense. They have so many players that do so many things so well that even when they're down, we can put pressure on you like every single time you step into the half court and make it impossible for you to score.
They are relentless. I use the word with them all the time, terrifying. That's what it is to play the Oklahoma City. You're like, oh, like this thing is like we kind of figured out this one thing. Now Aaron Wiggins is making 4 3-pointers. We figured out this other thing. Like Lou Dort is making my life a living hell at half court. And Kayson Wallace is picking up full court. Like they were without Alex Caruso in this game, obviously without Chet Holmgren in this game, and they still dominated.
Who cares?
In the fourth, it didn't matter. It doesn't.
Right.
They are so relentless. They are so talented. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you mentioned the finger roll. He had a scoop layup that to me, the angle is almost impossible. Like a scoop layup is so hard to hit usually. It's almost harder when you're closer to the basket because you got to get that thing so high up so fast. You know, it's like sitting like front row in a movie theater. You're like, my neck doesn't really go this way. And he gets it to go just like a straightaway. I'm like, his skill is so crazy. And I was trying to figure out like what he moves like because he's got this stop, start, downshift, upshift tempo thing. And it's like a baseball pitch, like a slider.
I mean, he reminds me of
breaking pitch.
Justin Jefferson. He reminds me of Justin Jefferson and how he moves. Just real
the Vikings receiver. Yeah.
Side to side, like explosive when he gets to the point of attack.
But it's almost like
first step.
It's almost slippier. It's like trying to catch a salmon in your hands. Like it's like it's like I don't know which way this thing's gonna break. I don't know which way this thing's gonna go because he can go any way and he's gonna make the shot. Doesn't matter. He can go left, right, straight ahead, right at you. They're amazing. I will say this for the Knicks, despite the disappointing fourth quarter, they were up 12 against what I think is the team to beat in what is we both agree is an elite team in the NBA.
Yeah.
Their 9-game win streak coming into this game was against a cupcake schedule. They played like the Wizards 9 times in a row. Yeah, and I wanted to see, okay, what's it look like against OKC? And they went for the most part for like 42 minutes of this game toe-to-toe with the Thunder in Oklahoma City. So I did overall, it's like I'm impressed but disappointed at the same time.
No, Mikal was great. First half. In that third quarter was going crazy. I think every team in NBA should want a Josh Hart on their team. I mean, he was incredible. Like
Yep.
everything he does all the way through and through is incredible. Yeah, they deserve respect. I mean, I think the Knicks are a legitimate contender. They're super good. But again, man, I was just so disappointed because I'm watching Jalen Brunson like fight for his life, and I'm just wondering where's your MVP candidate? Like why is he staying on the baseline?
It's a great question. We did not we spent a lot of time on the Knicks and the Thunder. Rightly so. Best game of the season that you've watched so far? One of them?
One
That's
of
up
them.
there.
Yeah.
It's got to be up there. Another fun one was the team that you cover. We teased it. We didn't get to it. We're going to do it now. The end of Nuggets, Spurs. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to get to that and wrap up the rest of this Friday night slate coming up next on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. I went to go see Green Day in your neck of the woods in Atlanta at where the Braves play. What's it called? Intuit? What is it?
Yes, at the Battery.
The Battery. The energy, the excitement, unforgettable. One of my favorite bands now. Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming game for my wife. Sometimes I go to the Heat games as media on weekends. Sometimes I'll bring my wife along. We'll go as fans. Using the Game Time app, it was easy. With Game Time Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before buying. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front. That is key. No surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night, your first listen. Let's get to the end of Spurs Nuggets. Spurs beat the Nuggets 113-110. This was a fun one down to the very last second. One of my favorite plays, Victor Wembanyama out on the three-point line, like 28 feet out in the final couple minutes here. 3 different Denver Nuggets lunge at him. He's 7'3", 7'4".
I know.
And he's got the ball at 28 feet away from the basket, and you've got 3 defenders lunging at. And I can't even blame them the way that Victor Wembanyama was playing and shooting in this one. And then he makes the right play, gets it over the 3 defenders, finds Keldon Johnson rolling to the basket for the go-ahead layup. I thought that was a great play. Denver scores. Spurs come back and score. Denver have a chance to win the game, tie the game down 3 in the final seconds. So go ahead and take it from here.
No, apparently out of timeout, Malone, whoever they called the nail play, and I just was, everything about that play was just bad from the start. I mean, Wemby was focused up on Jokic, which was fine. Jokic had just scored on Wemby. But in this situation, the Spurs, rightly so, it was an instant double. They had been coached before they got out of the timeout that as soon as Jokic goes to the post, double, and they did. And they doubled off of Russ. Porter was in a weird position. Brown was playing in a dunker spot. The whole thing was jacked up. And Jokic throws the ball up for no reason. I think he easily could have called a timeout there. Devin Vassell gets the steal, goes down and score. And again, it was just a mess of a possession. But overall, the Nuggets were 5 with 2 minutes and 28 seconds left. Champagnie gets a 3 in the corner. They end up scoring. And then that play that you're talking about with Victor Wembanyama, Victor had made 2 huge 3-pointers at the top of the fourth quarter when DeAndre Jordan was in the game. And it was just like 28 feet bombers. And then he made a sidestep movement 3 to his right 3 over Christian Brown, who was all the way in his grill, and it didn't end up mattering. Victor Wembanyama is one of a kind. He is 35, 18, and 4 on 14 to 22. Jokic, 41, 18, and 9 on 15 of 36 shots. This literally was band for band. We're both going to basically try to will our team to the victory, and Jokic just wasn't able to make enough plays. Jamal Murray had a stinker. it was so bad they went away from the clutch offense because Jamal Murray wasn't hitting any shots. 6 of 16 from the field today, or 6 of 17. Russ was really good for the most part. His defense on Victor Wembanyama was very good. I think he forced 2 turnovers on Victor Wembanyama today. So the Nuggets did a lot of things really well, man, but the Spurs, man, they held tight. Devin Vassell got a really huge dunk down the end of the game. CP3 made some really good plays. I think he had 11 assists and 1 turnover or something like that. All the way around, man, it was just a very well-fought game. And the Nuggets just came up short.
Victor Wembanyama versus Nikola Jokic is must-watch TV. It just is.
Yeah.
Like it's. I know it was on League Pass. It was going on during the Thunder Knicks game. I finished up Thunder Knicks. I clicked right over to the second half of Spurs Nuggets. When those teams are playing, you have to tune in. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wembanyama, amazing in this game. He's been a top 10 player in the league this
crazy.
season. There's no question about it. He's got the Spurs right in the thick of this play-in mix. Let's wrap up the rest of the night. The Celtics beat the Rockets 109-86. Celtics made 9 more threes than the Rockets, outscored them 27-14 in the fourth quarter. Here's Locked On Celtics host John Corrales with more.
I'll be honest, I had this game pegged as a loss for the Celtics going from Minnesota down to Houston. That is a tough back-to-back, but they really didn't show any signs of that fatigue. Drew Holiday set the tone in the first quarter, and yeah, the Rockets played really well early on. They were tough, physical. Alperen Şengün was doing his thing, but the Celtics adjusted, and their defense really, really picked up. Derek White was the star of this game for the Celtics. The third quarter was a big turnaround, and he did a little bit of everything. And then the fourth quarter, an 11-0 run with Tatum on the bench to kind of put this thing away. Again, this defense over the last 3 games has been basically perfect. The defense is something that we've been criticizing. I've been criticizing in December, where the effort was definitely lacking. Maybe it's the road. Maybe it's the togetherness on the plane and the bus, and kind of it's galvanizing something, and they're forced to kind of face what they've been not doing. The defense against Minnesota, the defense against Houston, top notch. This is Celtics basketball. And you add to that hitting 19 of 39 from 3, almost 49%. That's a recipe for the Celtics getting a blowout win, which they did.
Yeah, it helps when you get Drew Holiday back defensively, of course. Jabari Smith Jr. out 4 to 8 weeks for Houston with a broken left hand that he suffered in practice. Houston started Jeff Green in his place. That's not going to work long-term, and especially not for the next almost 2 months. But they did not have Amen Thompson, who was serving his suspension because he threw Tyler Hero to the ground for some reason, or Tari Eason. No, he was not in this game either because of an injury. I think Eason probably ends up getting that start at that power forward spot when he comes back. But yeah. Let's go to Toronto, where the Magic beat the Raptors 106-97, but they may have suffered yet another tough injury to another important player. Here's Philip Rossman-Reich from Locked On Magic with more.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, as the Orlando Magic defeat the Toronto Raptors 106-97. And there are a lot of places to start when it comes to this game, and maybe nothing that we can fully take away, except that, yes, the Magic can make three-pointers. They made 19 of them a season high. They made a franchise record-tying number of three-pointers. I believe they had 13 or 12 in the first half. It was a dominant offensive showing, and Tristan da Silva continues to make his name as one of the best rookies in the league. He had 25 points. He's had at least 15 points in 6 of his last 9 games as he has really settled in to this league. But unfortunately, the big news for the Orlando Magic came late in the second quarter when Jalen Suggs lunged for a steal and appeared to tweak his back. He went down to the floor, immediately clutched his back, and when he doesn't get immediately back up or he needs help leaving the floor, that makes you know that he is really in pain and something's really gone wrong. He officially left the game with back spasms, but obviously this Magic team long-term needs some health. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and while Paolo Banchero's return is imminent, this is another pall on what was a very strong offensive showing for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, total bummer if they're going to lose Jalen Suggs here for an extended amount of time, obviously without Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner already. In Dallas, the Cavs beat the Mavericks 134-122. They've won 9 in a row. Evan Mobley, 34 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Solid game from Jared Allen. Solid game from Donovan Mitchell. Solid game from Darius Garland. The Cavs, they just keep on rolling. The Pelicans beat the Wizards 132-104. to 120. Here's Jake Madison, host of Locked on Pelicans, with more.
Have yourself a night. CJ McCollum, as the Pelicans get just their 6th win of the season with a 132-120 win over the Washington Wizards. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked on Pelicans. CJ McCollum goes for 50 points, tying his career high. It would have been 51. The refs narked on him a little bit as they overturned a 3, ruled it a 2 instead. He was 10 of 16 from 3 here as the Pelicans just get a win. Look, sometimes you just need that, and when it's just your 6th of the season, we'll take what we can get here in New Orleans. The bigger picture part of this is CJ's likely going to be traded this season or next for the Pelicans. He's probably not a long-term piece. Does this raise his trade value a little bit? Could this put him on the market this season? Could he be moved before the trade deadline? I'm sure New Orleans is looking at everything they can do when it comes to that, trying to improve the roster for next season, not this year. But what a night from CJ, 50 points as the Pelicans get just their 6th win of the season.
Swipe a quick. I didn't prep you for this. Give me one CJ McCollum team that you like. Doesn't even have to work in the trade machine. Where would you like him to be?
Heat.
The Pistons beat the Hornets 98-94, 24 points and 10 rebounds for one Tobias Harris. No LaMelo Ball. Did not play in this game for the Hornets because of a wrist injury. In Sacramento, the Kings beat the Grizzlies 138-133. Malik Monk, 31 points. DeMar DeRozan, 29. Sabonis with a 17 and 10 triple-double, 23 points for De'Aaron Fox. But the player of the game comes from the losing team. Jalen Wells, the rookie, 2nd-round pick, 30 points on 11 for 16 on a night without Ja Morant. Swipe a rookie of the year talk for Jalen Wells. Great rookie.
The way things are looking, maybe.
On a top team in the West? Yeah. How can he not be?
Yeah.
And that will do it for us. That wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.